Linear functions. A linear equation can be defined as an equation in which the highest exponent of the equation varies 1. A linear function is a function of the form f of x equals mx plus b, and notice here the exponent for x is a 1. The graph of the linear equation is a straight line, and we can represent this function in two ways. We can write it as ax plus by equals c, that's a standard form, or y equals mx plus b is a slope-intercept form. The m here represents the slope, and the b represents the y-intercept. The slope of a function measures how steep a line is. A positive slope indicates that the line is increasing, and a negative slope indicates that the line is decreasing. We can use a formula to find the slope, and the slope is defined as the rise over run, which is the change in y divided by the change in x, or as a formula we can write it as y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus y1. Find the slope of the line. So I'm going to show you two ways, one using the formula and then one using the rise over run using the graph. So in order to use the formula, we need 2 points. So this point here is 0, 2, and this one is negative 2 and 0. We can label this as x1, y1, x2, y2, and then we can substitute into the formula. Y2 is 0, minus y1 is 2, x2 is negative 2, minus x1 is 2. So we get negative 2 divided by negative 4, which is positive a half. And notice that my slope is positive, so if we look at this line from left to right, you can see that the line is increasing. So let me just double check this. So 0 minus 2, and then we have negative 2 minus 0 should be a 0. So negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. So my slope becomes a 1. Okay. So to find the slope using the rise over run, you want it, for example, let's say you were standing here and you need to get to your friend who is over here. However, you cannot walk on this line. So this person here would have to go up 2 units. Since we're rising up, we say that's a positive 2. And then this person would have to go to the right 2 units. So that would be 2 units to the right. So you can see your slope is 1. But what if your friend had to go to you? So your friend would have to go down 2 units. Since your friend is going down, we represent that with a negative 2. And then they would have to go to the left 2 units. So left means we're going to represent with a negative. And you can see that we still get a positive 1. Okay, so those are two ways to find the point. If you have a graph, you can use rise over run. If you have 2 points, then you can use a formula. Finding the equation of a line. In order to find the equation of a line, we need 2 things, the slope and at least 1 point. And then we can use the point slope form of the line, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So it says write the equation of a line passing through negative 2 and 5 with the slope. So we have our slope and at least 1 point. So if I use this equation, we can call this x1, y1. So if we substitute that, y1 is 5, m is 3, and x1 is negative 2. Negative, negative is positive. Let's distribute the 3 at the 5. So y is 3x plus 11. Write an equation of a line using the figure below. So again, we can get rid of things that we know are not the answers. So for example, from left to right, this line is decreasing. Since the line is decreasing, then that means that the slope has to be negative. So this has a negative slope, negative slope, negative slope, positive slope, positive slope. So letter D and letter E are out. The y-intercept is at 0, 2, so that's your B. So this has a +3, so that one's out. And this one doesn't have a +2, so that's out. So that leaves me with this as my answer. So let's say for now, just to add, let's say we had a letter F and it was y equals -3/2 x plus 2. Then that would be a possible answer. So we would have to use the slope to determine the answer. So if we check the slope here, we're going up 2 units and then we're going across 3 units. So let me do this again. We're going up 2 units, so that's 2, and then we're going left 3 units. So we get a -2/3, so that you can see again that this tells us that letter C is our answer. Systems of linear equations. A system is when you have 2 or more equations and you're trying to find the solutions. There's 3 ways to find the solutions: graphically, elimination method, or substitution. And basically what this means is you have 2 lines. So you might have a line going like this, and then you might have a line going like this. So the solution is where the 2 lines intersect. Okay. So the first way is substitution method. So notice here that they tell you that y is equal to 2x minus 3. So since we know that, we're going to take this information and plug it into the first equation. So we're going to have x plus y. Instead of y, I'm going to write what it is. 2x minus 3 is equal to 6. Gather your like terms. X plus 2x is 3x. Add 3. So 3x is equal to 9. That means x is equal to 3. Once you know your solution for one variable, in this case x, then we do something called back substitute, which means you can take this variable and plug it into this equation or to this one, and you can plug it into whichever one. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the second one. Y is equal to 2x minus 3. So here I already know that x is 3, so I let x equals 3. And so I get y is equal to 3. The way we write our answer is that it's an ordered pair. So my solution is 3, 3. That means that the graph here is going to be at 3, 3 where they intersect. So the next example, before we do that one, let me go ahead and give you another example for the addition method. Okay. So let's say I have x plus 2y equals to 4 and 2x plus negative 2y, or 2x minus 2y is equal to 10. Okay. The addition method, the way that works is you're trying to find coefficients that are opposites. So here I have a +2 and a -2. If you have that, then what we can do is just add the equations. X plus 2x is 3x, 2y plus -2y is 0, and 4 plus 10 is 14. So then we divide by 3, so x is 14/3. Once you know your x, then you can come back and plug it into one of the 2 equations. So here, 2x plus 3y is equal to 5, and 5x plus 2y is equal to 7. If we use substitution, then you need to solve for y or for x. So let me go ahead and pick the first equation. and I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 3y. So I get 2x is equal to 5 minus 3y, and I'm going to divide by 2. Okay, so now let me write my equations here. Since we know that y is equal to 5 halves minus 3 halves y, then you take this answer and plug it into the second equation that you didn't use. So in this case, for x, I'm going to replace it with 5 halves minus 3 halves y plus 2y equals 7. So 5 times 5 is 25 halves. 5 times 3 is negative 15 halves. And then plus 2y equals 7. We need all the y's on one side and all the numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract 25 halves. So I end up with negative 15 halves y plus 2y is equal to 7 minus 25 halves. If you don't want to deal with fractions, you can multiply everything by that too. So let's go ahead and do that. So this here, 2 times negative 15 halves, the 2's would cancel, giving me negative 15y. 2 times 2 is 4y. 2 times 7 is 14. 25 halves times 2 is negative 25. So negative 15 plus 4 is negative 11y. And 14 minus 25 is 11. So y is equal to negative 1. Once you get your negative 1, then you can back substitute this into one of the two original equations. So I'm going to just pick the first one. So I would have 2 times negative 1 plus 3 times y. Sorry. 2x plus 3 times y, which is negative 1, is equal to 5. Add the 3 on both sides. So x is equal to 4. Okay. For me, I like to use the elimination method whenever the equations are written like this. If I know one of the variables, for example here, that y is equal to this, then that's when I use substitution. Okay, so my solution here was 4, negative 1. Now over here, we're trying to solve for x or y. So using the elimination method, you first have to decide which variable you want to get rid of. Do you want to get rid of the x's or the y's? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the y's. In order to get rid of them, they have to have opposite coefficients. So this is a negative 1. This is a positive 2. So we need this to be a negative 2. So to make it a negative 2, I'm going to multiply everything here by negative 2. And so now I'm going to have negative 2 times 3, negative 6x, negative 2 times negative y, positive 2y, and negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. This equation remains the same. And actually, let's multiply by positive 2. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative y is negative 2y. And 2 times 4 is positive 8. Now 6x plus negative 4x would be a positive 2x. And negative 2y plus 2y would be 0. 8 plus 2 would be 10. Divide by 2. So x is equal to 5. Now that you know that x is equal to 5, then you have your two equations. So we're going to substitute that in. So 3 times 5 minus y is equal to 4. So we get 15 minus y is equal to 4. Subtract 15. negative y is equal to negative 11. Divide by negative 1, so we get y equals 11. Okay, so divide by 1, negative 1, so y equals 11. So my solution for this one is 5 and 11. Okay. So example 52, in the solution of the system's equations below, y is equal to what? So here I'm going to use substitution elimination. Notice that the y's have opposite signs, so I can just go ahead and add x plus x is 2x. Y's cancel, and then we get 22. Divide by 2, so x is equal to 11. So sometimes we don't read the equation again, so I might circle the 11, but this will be incorrect because they're asking for y. So always make sure to read the instructions one more time just to make sure. So if x is 11, then y is going to be equal to 1. So my answer is actually letter A.